Welcome back to Quasarianth, the podcast that takes you on a thrilling journey through the vast and mysterious multiverse, where each realm is teeming with wonders and dangers beyond imagination. Finally, in part 4, we explore the legacy of the creatures and the architects of life, and the future of the Nexus as humanity grapples with the weight of responsibility and seeks to make amends. Join us for an unforgettable journey through the wonders and dangers of the multiverse, only on Quasarianth. As the dust settles after the battle, the surviving crew members assess the damage that was done to the Nexus. They realize that the damage is extensive, and that it will take a long time to rebuild the structure. The crew members survey the damage and determine what needs to be repaired. They work together to come up with a plan to rebuild the Nexus and restore it to its former glory. They gather resources and begin to rebuild the structure, using the advanced technology they have at their disposal. The crew members work tirelessly, putting in long hours to get the job done as quickly as possible. As they work, they reflect on the mistakes they made and the consequences of their actions. Some crew members feel guilty about their part in creating the creatures and the chaos that ensued, while others feel that it was worth it for the knowledge gained. The crew members discuss the ethics of playing God and the dangers of tampering with advanced technology. As the Nexus is rebuilt, the crew members also work on repairing relationships and building trust with each other. The crew members begin to focus on the future, and what they can do to prevent similar disasters from occurring in the future. As the surviving crew members work to rebuild the Nexus, they begin to feel the weight of their responsibility. They realize the consequences of their actions and the destruction they have caused. The crew members are haunted by the memories of the creatures they created and the destruction they caused. They begin to question their own morality and the ethics of playing God. They also fear the possible consequences of their actions and worry about what other dangers they may have unleashed. As they work to rebuild, they are forced to confront the reality of the situation. They must take responsibility for their actions and find a way to make amends for the damage they have caused. They must also find a way to prevent similar incidents from happening in the future. The crew members must work together to make difficult decisions and set guidelines for future exploration and experimentation. They must also find a way to make peace with the creatures they have created and find a way to coexist peacefully with them. As they work through their guilt and try to make things right, the crew members begin to realize the true power of their abilities. They understand the importance of using their skills and knowledge responsibly and for the greater good. As the dust settles after the battle, the surviving members of the space traveler team come together to assess the damage caused by the creatures they had created. They realize the extent of the destruction and devastation that their experiment had caused. The survivors also come to terms with the fact that they had played God and created beings that had caused so much chaos and destruction. As they mourn the loss of their friends and colleagues, they start to make plans to make amends for their actions. They decide that they need to take responsibility for what they had done and help rebuild the planets they had destroyed. the team starts to work with the surviving inhabitants of the planets they had visited. They help them rebuild their homes and cities, and they assist with repairing the damage caused by the creatures. They also provide them with advanced technology to aid in the rebuilding process. As they work to make amends, the team also starts to reflect on their actions and the consequences of playing God. They realize that they had been too focused on their own desires to create something extraordinary, without fully understanding the consequences of their actions. The survivors vow to never again play God and create something that they cannot fully control. They recognize the dangers of trying to manipulate nature and creating life. They also come to understand the importance of respecting the natural order of things. With a newfound understanding and a desire to make things right, the team continues to work tirelessly to help rebuild the planets they had visited. They hope that, with time, they can make amends for the damage they had caused and regain the trust of the inhabitants they had unintentionally harmed. The room is quiet, and the mood is somber as they discuss the events that led to the downfall of the Nexus and the catastrophic consequences of their experimentation. As they reflect on their mistakes, they begin to devise a plan for how to move forward. They realize that the technology they possess is incredibly powerful, and they must be more responsible in its use. They decide to establish a new code of ethics and guidelines for any future experimentation, ensuring that they never repeat their past mistakes. The chapter then shifts to a montage of the group working together to rebuild the Nexus, with each character contributing their unique skills and knowledge. They construct new laboratories and facilities, incorporating the lessons they learned from their previous failures. As they work, they begin to develop a sense of camaraderie and unity that had been missing before. As the Nexus is rebuilt and life returns to normal, the survivors of the experiment begin to reflect on the legacy of the creatures they created. Some see them as a mistake, a tragedy that should never have happened. Others see them as a necessary step in the evolution of the universe, a symbol of human ingenuity and innovation. As they debate the legacy of the creatures, they begin to realize that they are not alone in their reflections. Across the galaxy, the news of the experiment has spread, and the creatures have become a symbol of help for some and fear for others. The survivors of the experiment grapple with the consequences of their actions, knowing that the legacy of the creatures will shape the future of the galaxy for generations to come. They come to understand that they will be forever linked to these creatures, whether they like it or not. The Nexus has been rebuilt, and the surviving members of the space crew are now trying to figure out what to do next. They have learned their lesson and have vowed to never meddle with advanced technologies beyond their comprehension. They have decided to dedicate the Nexus to scientific research that will help improve the lives of all beings in the universe. The surviving creatures have been given a new home within the Nexus, where they will be cared for and studied. The scientists are interested in learning more about the creatures' abilities and how they were able to adapt to their environment. As the Nexus returns to its original purpose of exploration and discovery, the crew reflects on the lessons they have learned. They realize that the universe is full of wonders and that there is still so much to learn. They also realize that with great power comes great responsibility, and they must always be mindful of the consequences of their actions. The crew has come to the conclusion that they must share their knowledge with the rest of the universe, so they set out on a new mission to spread their scientific findings and learn from other civilizations they come across. The future of the Nexus looks bright, as the crew embarks on a new journey of discovery and understanding. As the dust settles after the conflict, the remaining members of the expedition team gather to reflect on the events that transpired. They contemplate the implications of their actions and the consequences of playing God. Amidst the rubble of the Nexus, they discover a hidden chamber that contains a message from the ancient beings who built the technology. The message explains that they created the technology as a means of exploring the universe and creating life. However, they learn the hard way that the consequences of their actions were far-reaching and unforeseen. The message urges the surviving members of the expedition team to use the technology wisely and with caution. They must strive to balance the power of creation with the responsibility that comes with it. Moved by the message, the surviving members of the team vow to dedicate themselves to rebuilding the Nexus and using the technology for the betterment of humanity. They form a new council to oversee the use of the technology, ensuring that it is used ethically and responsibly. In the end, the expedition team realizes that they are not the architects of life, but mere stewards of the technology. They pledge to use their newfound knowledge and power to make the universe a better place for all.